Dave Dombrowski set the record straight with the priorities for the Phillies this offseason. We've got some trade talks on Alec Bohm. Plus, what are the options for Jeff Hoffman with the Phillies moving forward? And some other news around Major League Baseball. All that and much more coming up today. Plus, of course, some Phillies trivia headed your way soon here on PHLY Phillies podcast. What are the best fits for the Phillies when it comes to trade talks with Alec Bohm? What about Jeff Hoffman? Dave Dombrowski spoke openly about the 3 priorities for the Phillies this offseason. We've got some updates around the league, and not just Juan Soto, but some other big names, Corbin Burns, Max Fried, and some others. Happy Thursday. Welcome on into PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli, Jamie Lynch, myself, Renee Washington on this cold Thursday. We had some snow flurries last night. The wind has been howling. I had to make sure to secure all the things outside of my house because I didn't want them blowing down the street. Yeah.
Before, and great dad, husband equity was gained. I went and did it without being asked. And I came back inside and she goes, we should really take down the umbrella tonight. And I was like, psh, already did it.
I'm proud of you.
Oh, thanks. Right in the back
so proud
pocket.
Of you.
Great husband.
Yeah. And you know what?
No big deal.
You're going against the current social media trend of women in men's fields because there's a lot of men being called out for the things they don't do well or things that
I would love my wife to go be the breadwinner. I'd be a Mr. Mom. I'd kill it. I would dominate it. I'd be so good at it.
Be bread home. What would you call
I'd love to be
trophy dad?
Yeah, trophy dad. Sure.
Or trophy husband? Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the dream? Get those kids in school, go out golf, and then just have a dinner ready. You do the laundry.
It's a full-time job. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'd be awesome at it because I do it anyway. So like, if I could just not work on top of it, I did get kicked off of laundry duty though.
Why?
Because I don't separate, and there's been like 2 things.
What don't you separate, Jamie?
Colors
the whites and
it's
Jamie.
It's mostly fine.
That's not fine, actually.
And there's been like 2 things screwed up in like 20 years.
No. You put everything in cold water.
Yeah, you put it in
fine.
cold. It's fine.
Oh, I feel like are you intentionally doing that so you don't have to do laundry? Do you like doing laundry?
That's like a really bad thing. I am efficient and fast at it. She is slow, and it piles up to mountains. Well, and then you're putting it away for like 2.5 nights.
Sometimes if you don't have enough whites, you have to wait until it builds up. Or you add in some sheets or towels.
In small doses. You're not putting
Someone
it
just
away
gave a thumbs down, and it's clearly because you're mixing colors and whites in your laundry.
No. Big laundry's gotten to you.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with you guys with your laundry, but I do know what's going on, around baseball right now. Happy Thursday, Chris, Larry, Manny. Listen, I know that people don't want to hear laundry talk, dirty laundry talk. Surprise.
It's provocative. It gets the people going.
Nothing like some
Everybody
dirty
does laundry, right?
I hope so.
Right,
I'm very efficient with my
I would
laundry.
hope so.
I have a great system down for sure, and I don't mix my colors
Small
with my whites.
dose is way better than big piles.
Okay, either way.
Simple.
Well, with the wind whipping and some snow flurrying last night means we're getting hotter and hotter in the hot stove because as it gets colder, the hot stove heats up even more. I can even hear the wind whipping outside.
Ripping outside.
It's really bad. I actually couldn't sleep last night because I felt like something was gonna blow over. It's like tornado winds going on right now. So with that though, hot stove is cooking, guys. It is cooking because Dave Dombrowski came out to set the record straight by sharing the offseason priorities for the Phillies have not changed. He said, we're looking to acquire major league ready talent. That's what we're looking to do. We want to win at the big league level. And the way that he looks at it, as he said, is that the Phillies are a good team, won a lot of games last year, won the division, also basically have most of the club back. With the 4 starting pitchers at the top of rotation, as good as anybody's. We need to fill a bullpen spot, but we really have a good club. And he did go on to talk about the open-minded term that's been thrown around. I know we've talked about it here on the show as well, and said, I don't want to put too much emphasis on that because it's apparent that people have taken it and run with it. we are people. We've run with that. I definitely have. If you're saying you're being open-minded, to me, you're open to anything. So with that, Dave did outline the 3 priorities for the Phillies this offseason. And if you think the news yesterday about Juan Soto was a surprise, that's sarcasm, wait till you hear this one. The first priority is an outfielder to play left or center field. Surprise. Someone that can play left or center, with Brandon Marsh being able to flip between the two. Also, a late inning right-handed reliever.
Dombrowski, you mean like the 2 free agents they have?
Dombrowski did mention that the Phillies will probably acquire 1 right-handed late inning reliever, despite free agents Carlos Estevez and Jeff Hoffman pitching in late innings last season. And then the third priority, another surprise, a number 5 starter. So we have the 3 priorities for the Phillies. I don't think any of these had me the least bit surprised by it, but I feel like Dave wanted to come out, and we haven't heard much from the Phillies in general. So to me, this was his way of setting the record straight of like, there's a lot of rumors going on. We're trying to piece things together. And Dave is reminding us, essentially, Juan Soto and some of those names that we've been talking about. Let's focus more on the 3 priorities. And one priority that I have to add as a bonus is when you have a 1-month-old that's coming in the chat saying hello, because Tyler's very own little boy, Paxton, shout out to Bridget, love this comment, just commented in the chat saying, Paxton is dropping in to say, hi, Dad. Tyler, you're beaming. I love this. Hi, Bridget.
I literally,
Hi,
just swelled up with so much excitement. Like, I got so happy.
Can you show them let Paxton see your face?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Let me see if we can make this work. Hi,
Paxton,
buddy.
Your dad does this thing where he likes to talk.
I do.
And
It's
not
true.
Show his beautiful face. And we're always saying, Tyler, show off that beautiful face of yours. Get on screen.
It's true. Hi, bud. Love you.
Oh, this is so cute.
I remember the first time, because back in my previous life, we were also on the YouTube. So like
on the YouTube.
Yeah, on the YouTube as the kids.
www.theyoutube.com.
Don't add the.
And Skylar sent me a picture of them, as an infant, and Tyler, I know the feeling. You swallow.
Dude, I just want to go home now.
Yeah, it's very
You're
cool.
like, that's it for me. Time to leave.
It's very cool.
It's been nice. I got to go home.
And
that
it
was
only gets
precious.
cooler.
That was precious. Yeah, especially as they get older and they're like recognizing you and able to say things. So those are the 3 priorities. Love the bonus thrown in there of Paxton. Great surprise. That is the surprise because the rest has not been a surprise. So that being said, this just reminds us the Phillies know what they're doing this offseason. They're locked in on those 3 areas. And yeah, they're claiming they know what they're doing. I think this actually to me was also Jamie and Tyler a chance to let the people know, calm down. We've got our priorities. We know what we're looking at. Pump the brakes. We'll be fine.
Well, Monday or Sunday in Dallas, it's all going to start, and we're going to have Jim Salisbury joining us a bunch next week, and it's going to be a very active, I think, winter meetings for a lot of teams. We could have Juan Soto news before then, according to the Ken Rosenthal piece yesterday. And if that happens, I feel like it's just going to be a flurry of moves and teams meeting and discussing this and that. So, Dave's just kind of nothing he said is earth-shattering there. All very obvious stuff. A little interesting, he says 5th starter. I mean, we all know they need that, but they do have Taijuan Walker on contract. So that might be a signal that they have no hope of him returning to form. So it's going to be a fun couple days starting on Sunday through Wednesday. I think the rumor mill is going to be hot and furious. And I'm really looking forward to it because – he can say whatever he wants. We don't want to trade this guy. We don't want to trade. I do think it's going to be a very active offseason.
I do too. And I feel like the wording of everything that Dave said was very important of him saying, like, for example, our 1 through 4 starters are the best across, any team in the league. He's not, as he said, he's not putting emphasis on anything. There's no guarantees. There was no protection of players in that. He wasn't saying, oh, no, we're going to keep this guy. We're not moving on from this guy. Let them open enough where they're going to go out and actively look for players. We don't know who's going to be moved, if anyone. But again, it wasn't too specific. Just a generic, here's our 3 areas that we're looking to target. And, we are being open-minded, but not too open-minded. So, don't run with it that way. Like, just kind of was not too hot, not too cold in the middle of everything he was saying. And I know in the chat, I want to give some love. Frank, Paxton's getting a lot of love right now, which is adorable. And Andrew, I know you're saying nothing has changed. I think we run it back and other teams get a lot better. Don't have a good feeling about this team if it stays the same. That's fair. I think there are a lot of
the same. Yeah, it's very boring.
Yeah, if they stay the same, I'd absolutely be with you on the concern of what the Phillies missed out on this offseason. So for the Phillies, they are already projected for 2025 payroll to be around $282 million for luxury tax purposes. So this is something to keep in mind. It is currently the second highest projected payroll across baseball and pushes them past the third luxury tax threshold, which is $281 million. So that is something that Dombrowski also touched on, is saying that they have the freedom to do things that they need to do. They're not sure what's going to happen at this point. The reality is, when you look at where the Phillies are, a lot of clubs have had very little movement overall, but you can start to see it breaking a little bit. So I know I was reading that in Todd Zalecki's piece, which she did a great job of highlighting Dave's comments and sharing what Dombrowski was sharing with us. But again, I feel like this was that right before winter meetings, to your point, Jamie, before things get crazy, it's like that one final chance to just put some things out there to remind people of what the Phillies are trying to do this offseason.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see the rumors that come out. You know, we're starting to see some stuff with Seattle and the Phillies possibly talking more and more, maybe about Alec Bohm, because they're looking for some stuff, where the outfielder comes from, how heavy they go after a fifth starter. Do they prioritize keeping Hoffman, or are they in a market for a Devin Williams, a Helsley? Do they go free agency with Tanner Scott? I do feel like they're going to get a big bullpen arm of some sort.
Yeah.
I feel like Tyler O'Neill is going to be the left fielder. That's just like my gut right now. And then I think they get like a Luis Castillo or somebody like that to bolster the arms. So I think there's a lot on the table. I think I'm not going to tell anybody to enter the winter meetings however you would like. I don't think there's reason for pessimism at all yet. Dave Dombrowski is a guy that will be aggressive. I think he knows, John Middleton knows, I think everybody in that building knows they can't run it back the same again. So I'm optimistic. I'm really looking forward to next week. I would tell people to keep an open mind to this. I think they know overall change is needed, and I think we're going to get it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've seen some various pieces that have come out even in the last 24 hours. Matt Gell dropped an article this morning as well, highlighting some of the areas for the Phillies to keep an eye on. You brought up Jeff Hoffman, and we're going to get into Alec Bohm discussions because that is a big bulk of what we need to talk about today, of the possible landing spots for him. But Jeff Hoffman is a unique case because we do see, obviously, the talent is there. He's someone that we've talked about wanting to keep with the Phillies, but he's someone that we've also talked about maybe there's potential to flip him to be a starter. There have been some guys that have flipped between the bullpen and starting roles, Ranger Suarez even being one of them. But I know Clay Holmes is someone even right now that there's the discussions of flipping him. Jordan Hicks is another one on the market that actively was seeking a role where he could be a starter and got that with the Giants, and is one that didn't even have a full sample size, a lot to choose from, but kind of demanded and wanted the opportunity and was given that, and also was given a nice $12.5 million deal on top of it. So it does lead, I think part of this offseason for me is not only looking at which players they can acquire, but within who they have internally, similar to how they were able to move Bryce Harper to first base last year. And you saw that immediately pay off and help. Or being able to have Kyle Schwarber be an everyday DH and have the occasional games in outfield, but the bulk of the season at DH. If there are those internal moves that the Phillies can make that can also allow you to keep a guy and reuse them in a different, use them in a different way, I should say. Jeff Hoffman, it makes you wonder. I know, Jamie, you had brought up the idea as well of whether or not it makes sense to try him as a starter and kind of see what happens.
Well, the painter aspect of it makes it intriguing, and then you always have the possibility of the fallback to the pen if it doesn't work out. Jordan Hicks got $12.5 million, which is slightly kind of like above top, reliever type money, with the possibility that, they knew, the Giants, that, all right, if he doesn't work out as a starter, we can put him back in the bullpen.
Yeah. And
maybe if Jeff Hoffman in his camp, this is definitely coming from his agents, that teams are viewing him as a starter, but there has been a little bit of an uptick, Ronaldo Lopez and Hicks, and who was the other guy I mentioned last week? I'm blanking. I'm brain farting. But there's been 3 or 4 success stories of bullpen arms turned into startars in the past 2
years. Use Seth Lugo as an example.
Yeah.
Obviously he had starter experience, but he had been a bullpen piece for the Mets for most of the last couple of years.
Yeah, and there's been a couple guys. So if Jeff Hoffman wants to try that, maybe if you give them $12 million a year, is that something they would consider, knowing that like once Painter's ready and maybe playoff ready, you have the option of Ranger and Hoffman in the pen, and you kind of have them. I don't want to. You want a guy in a role. I'm not saying you jerk him up and down. Beginning of the year, starter, bullpen. Probably should have phrased that better.
I actually was trying so hard not to react.
Back and forth, I guess I should have said.
Yeah, go back and forth. Go back and forth.
Maybe I just leave jerk out of it. But you want him to know his role is what I'm
Paxton,
what I'm
stop
trying
watching
to
the show.
Sorry, Paxton. You don't want to do starter, bullpen. I'm not saying that. But with Painter emerging late and the weird timeline and inning cap of the way he is, and Rangers, flexibility in any role, like it becomes kind of an interesting thought a little bit of, all right, if he can take 12 million a year, do you try him out as the fifth starter through August and, maybe have Painter come up in late July, early August and decide how you handle it then? That's obviously something that Hoffman would have to be on board with.
Sure.
But you're also paying him to think that way.
Yeah.
If he does like it here versus testing the open market.
And I think that's the key. If you have a guy like Jeff Hoffman, and I don't know what him and his agent are actively saying, obviously, but if he is someone that wants to be in Philly and has interest of staying here and is open to options and flexible, we have seen, you bring up a Seth Lugo, we've talked about Ranger Suarez, there's so many names. Jordan Hicks, who started 20 games of 29 last year. He was on my fantasy team to start the season, but dropped off. But I dropped him because he actually did have some struggles as the season wore on.
That's very important that you dropped him.
Yeah,
Everybody was probably dying to know that.
Well, again, I always say that because I closely watched Jordan Hicks last season every day, every week, because he was on my team. That's the only reason I always bring up my fantasy team, just for the record. But finished with a 4.10 ERA in the season and was like kind of up and down as a starter. I don't think it hurts in this modern baseball era that we're in to be comfortable having a pitcher that, if they're a high leverage arm and they've got the stuff, why not see if you can get some more innings out of them in a starting role versus a Jeff Hoffman coming in for 1 or 2 innings in high leverage situations as a reliever. And especially with the Phillies actively looking for a fit starter and bullpen arms, this could give you an option for both. To your point, with Andrew Painter on the horizon, it gives you maybe a bridge until Painter's ready to fully start. And then you have Jeff Hoffman locked in. So I actually like the idea as a way to bring him back, to also give him some extra value. Hey, not only are we bringing you back as a reliever, we're also going to try you as a starter and see what you can. And like giving him that challenge. He stepped up when challenged before after being the guy that was throwing Bryce Harper bullpen sessions. I don't know. I feel like
one of the problems is, though, you still have to address the bullpen.
Correct. Absolutely.
So it becomes an expensive
and it's a
proposition.
Risk because you don't know if it's going to pan out for him as a starter.
Yeah.
So there are some caveats to it as well.
You have to bring, you can't, say Hoffman's going to be a starter through August and then not address the bullpen. You still need to address a high leverage bullpen arm. So it would be an addition to another bullpen arm, and we'll see.
To me, it would just be a way to also keep a guy with the team that you've now been able to see for, a full season and some change of how he adds to the Phillies and wanting to just lock him back in as a way to get creative, I think you can say.
Everybody says he loves it here. We'll see if he actually does.
We will see. And we will also see if another guy who hated it here and then loved it here and hopefully maybe still loves it here, Alec Bohm, will remain here in Philly. But first, let's take a quick pause and handle some business. And let me tell you about where you can be financially responsible and planning for your future, because it's important that you have a place with better fees, lower rates in TrueMark Financial Credit Union, where you're going to get the support of being able to access your account anytime, anywhere, to be able to make transactions, pay bills, to also be able to check your credit score actively, to keep up to date with it, make sure there's no fraudulent activity or errors, and also even just being able to take advantage of the rewards points that you can get as a member of TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Well, another reward that not only benefits you, but also benefits your kids and teens is the Greenlight account that you can set up through TrueMark Financial Credit Union. So it allows you to have a chance to give your kids and gift your kids an opportunity to learn financial responsibility at a young age. It's never too young or too early to learn some real world skills. And with the Greenlight app, it gives them a chance to practice and learn how to earn, how to save. They can get an allowance through that. They also can have their own debit card so they can make their own transactions. And then as their parent, you actually have a chance to not only coach them through it, but to be able to manage it, to keep track of their spending and their saving and see what they're doing. So it's a hands-on experience for them to really get the ultimate playbook for learning financial responsibility with the Greenlight account. And as a member of TrueMark Financial Credit Union, you actually can get a free Greenlight account for your kids and teens. So again, a great way to just provide them with experiences. And it's just changing the game for kids and teens. And something I actually wish I had. I did have a savings account and a bank account as a kid, but I wish I had something that was a little bit more hands-on growing up, like the Greenlight account and what it provides with the app. So just peace of mind, some independence, some learning, some real-world money skills. And again, it is free as a member of TrueMark Financial Credit Union. So as the holiday season is here and you're looking for some great gifts, maybe take advantage of and check out the Greenlight account. And if you want to get signed up today, I definitely encourage you to do so. And you can visit TrueMark.com/Greenlight for more information to get started with our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union.
And I'm going to be heading after the show today because my mom's been on my case about it. She's a nurse. And every fall, Jamie, did you get your flu shot yet? And I'm going to be heading over to my old Rite Aid right down in South Philly today to get my old pharmacy. I'm going to go get a flu shot to get my mom off my case because every year, the flu shot is important. And another one that's important is the pneumonia shot. So whatever vaccination you might need, head to your local Rite Aid and talk to them about it. But pneumonia, you should help protect yourself, especially now if you're over 50 years old. They are now eligible for the vaccine. Previously, it was 65 and older. Millions of people get pneumonia every single year, according to the CDC. It's a respiratory illness, and in the winter is when the germs that cause respiratory disease typically spread more in the community. Some people get pneumonia and have mild symptoms, but others have serious complications, and the vaccine is one of the best ways to keep yourself healthy, and it's usually at no cost with insurance. Getting vaccinated is easy. Just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule online at riteaid.com. And if you're unsure of what vaccines you may need, just ask your pharmacist for personal recommendations. Stop by your local Rite Aid today.
All right. Well, as we're talking here on PHLY Phillies podcast, each and every day with updates that's going on around the league, one of the big updates going on around the Phillies that we've been following closely is Alec Bohm. Where he's going, if he's leaving, if he's staying, if he leaves and they trade him, which teams make most sense. And we've been hearing, especially this week, some conversation and chatter picking up around Alec Bohm. I know for MLB Trade Rumors, they dropped some articles. I know Steve Adams, one of the writers, and a couple others shared some specifics of some teams that seem like favorites for Alec Bohm. And they also had a chance to break down why each team makes most sense. Now, keep in mind for Alec Bohm, one of the reasons that he's actually a great trade candidate is not only because of his ability to have a tremendous start to 2024 that earned him an all-star bid, home run derby, top across the league in doubles and RBIs, but also financially he's a good fit because A, the Phillies don't have a lot of options of who they can move, but with his club control, arbitration eligible through 2026, his contract, he's actually in a good space as a young MLB everyday ready player that can play third base, first base, give you good at bats. And so teams like the Astros, Angels, Blue Jays, Brewers, Mariners, Royals, Tigers, Yankees, all have been brought up, and even with some question marks around the teams like the Mets and the Red Sox. Now, we'll leave the best for last in Seattle, and I say best because it's the one that's, I feel like, gaining the most traction, not best for any other reason, and kind of talk through the others. Starting with the Angels, a reason they were brought up is you've got an Anthony Rendon who, as we've talked many times.
He's horrible. Just go away. Give your money back and leave.
Okay.
Like, you have that option, Mr. Rendon. Just give your contract back to the Angels and say, I'm good. I don't want to be here anymore. You are stealing. You are a thief.
Thievery.
Just quit.
Yeah.
Nobody's holding a gun to your head to play baseball.
Aww.
If I was an Angels fan, I would loathe this guy.
Well, not only has he had a very high contract, but Anthony Rendon, of course, also deals with a lot of injuries, does not play often, so he's a guy you're paying.
Play. What a loser.
Tell us how you really feel.
I mean, I feel for Angels fans to have to hear that.
Okay, so obviously obviously he's not a great option as for everything that Jamie just said. And so it would give them a productive, consistent, dependable guy. Also, the Angels have been a team that's quietly been making some moves already this offseason with their 40-man roster. I know you like to say the name, Mr.
Kikuchi. They got a Kikuchi. And they got a D'Arnaud. And
Kyle
a
Hendrick. Child. All right, so
it's a fun name to
that's
say.
why he also could help out at first base. They have like a Nolan Shanuel who can play first base. So they've got options of absolutely where he can help in the corner infield. The Astros also brought up because they're in the midst of dealing with the Alex Bregman, like, stay or leave conversation. Not really sure if he's going to be with Houston next season. And so Alec Bohm could be a great backup for the Astros if Bregman goes somewhere else, or if they're unable to get Willy Adames, who's another name, which leads us to the Brewers, who are, they're not going to re-sign Adames at market value. So they do have some other options in Joey Ortiz and Bryce Turang, and they have some flexibility there.
Reese and Bohm reunited in the Midwest.
Correct. It could be a Reese Hoskins, Alec Bohm reunion. We do know the Brewers have thrown out the idea, or reports have indicated someone like Devin Williams could be on the trade market. Could we get a Bohm, Devin Williams type of a trade?
Probably not.
But it's nice to dream.
You might be able to with a lot more prospects.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a 1-for-1, but it's nice to dream. So of those three, and then I'll add the Blue Jays in the mix, who are obviously very aggressive right now. Reports have said they're aggressive, desperate, tomato, that they're willing to spend everything they can. They have an offense that needs depth. They need quality bats. They just need a lot of pieces right now. They're in on the Juan Soto hunt, but they're apparently in on adding a lot of pieces. They've considered moving Vladimir or giving Vladimir Guerrero Jr. more time at third. They've also been linked to Alex Bregman and Willy Adames. They've also been linked to just trying to upgrade their infield altogether. So of those four teams, if you had to pick one, who do you think he would go to before we get into the next tier of teams?
Say it again. It was Brewers,
Angels, Brewers, or Blue Jays. Who would make sense for a deal?
I could see the Astros making a lot of sense if they lose Bregman. There's a decent trade history between the Astros and the Phillies. It depends what the Astros are deciding to do. Like, if they trade Kyle Tucker and lose Alec Bregman, are they in full rebuild mode, or are they in vampire you can't kill me mode, where it's just like, all right, well, we'll just retool, run it back, and we're still better than most franchises, or bigger cheaters than most franchises, however you want to say it.
I wonder if you can get a Kyle Tucker in a deal.
Scott Lauber seemed to that was my big takeaway from the Scott Lauber interview yesterday, was that there's a decent possibility that Kyle Tucker could be moved, which I don't get. He did, since we're on the topic of fantasy teams, his mystery shin contusion last year cost me like my season. So I'm kind of jilted a little bit in terms of Kyle Tucker. But he would be like, if you're talking about home run options to improve the offense, I think Kyle Tucker is near the top of the list.
Every week you complaining about where is Kyle Tucker, because
damn
he had
shin bruise for
but
8
I wonder
weeks.
I wonder how
He was
serious
just getting
that is.
himself ready. He was preserving himself for the Phillies.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder, is
I
there
think he
more
was
to
like,
this?
"Get
Is
me to
Kyle Tucker
Philadelphia."
not wanting to be in Houston anymore? Is this a more serious injury that's like concerning
No,
for the
he's-
Phillies, or is this more of
he's just
a
saving
kind of a
himself
mental
for
thing
us.
of protecting himself to be
Yeah.
healthy? So you're saying the Astros, Tyler, of that A and B group, and I'm not getting it. We didn't get to the rest yet. Which of those teams do you think would make most sense for a possible trade for the Phillies with Alec Bohm?
Yeah, the answer is probably, I don't think any of them. But
That's fair.
But if we're picking one, I think the Astros could conceivably make sense, because they are still in a I think a win now window. Even with how
I'd
the
be shocked
postseason
if
transpired.
they lost both Bregman and Tucker.
So I think that what you said, you bring up Tucker, Renee, and I think, yes, there's merit to a potential Tucker trade. I don't think it would happen in the same construct of the conversation that we're having. Bohm could make sense for Houston in the sense that if they don't feel like they're going to be able to pay Alex Bregman, or they don't want to pay Alex Bregman, it could certainly make sense. It's another one of those things where, what is the return for Alec Bohm? Because I don't believe the Phillies want any type of prospect return. I believe they want major league players. I would be curious to see what Houston would be willing to move in that scenario. And then, does it end up being the Phillies who sign Alex Bregman? Is it a weird, not direct swap, but a swap nonetheless? I don't think any I'll be honest with you, and I've been saying this for a while, guys. I think your starting third baseman to begin next year is Alec Bohm.
Okay.
I don't think Alec Bohm gets moved because I think the Phillies' evaluation of Alec Bohm and the rest of the league's evaluation of Alec Bohm are not going to come to a conclusion that works for the Phillies unless they feel extremely confident that they can sign an Alex Bregman, they can sign a Willy Adames, they can sign a player like a player that I think is going to be of substance. It's not just going to be a holdover player that is going to get them to Aiden Miller. Because if you have a thought of like, get me to Aiden Miller, then it's Alec Bohm anyway, because he's got the 2 years of arbitration left. I really don't know if Alec Bohm gets moved. I think a lot of people want Alec Bohm to get moved. For the sake of this conversation, I would say the Astros.
Okay.
By the way, Gelb also mentioned Aiden Miller as a non-untouchable.
So a touchable. Okay. That's a weird word. Sorry. A movable guy. A movable piece.
Well, it's funny because Jim told us that on Monday, and it kind of raised all of our eyebrows. And then I read it this morning in Gelb's piece, and I was like, I mean, it does say you're going to need, a big haul to get an Aiden Miller type.
For sure.
But it's definitely interesting the week ahead of the winter meetings that Jim and Matt, two of the most tied-in guys in town, both said the same thing about it.
Yeah.
So that definitely raised my antenna a little bit there.
Well, do these teams raise your antenna of interest for a trade? The Royals, who already have been involved in a trade with Cincinnati in the Brady Singer, Jonathan India trade. So through that, they've been able to acquire a nice leadoff option. They don't exactly, as the report indicates, they're not exactly needing a solid veteran in the lineup that's built to just put the ball in play, but they are seeking that. And so for Alec Bohm, he is someone that could help add to being a contact-heavy hitter that they can add into their lineup, as well as, of course, the defensive side of what he can bring. There has been some reported interest in Alec Bohm from Kansas City already as a trade option. Michael Garcia is their current third baseman. He's a light hitter, and he's a good defender, but could be more of a utility piece for them if they wanted to move him. Detroit was also brought up because they've got Spencer Torkelson, who they're relying on heavily. And at third base, they have kind of like a combination of Matt Vierling and some others, including a prospect and Jace Jung for the future. So they have an option that's a great name, Bohm to be a third baseman or also to be able to help at first base if Torkelson doesn't pan out. And then the Yankees were brought up because we saw Jazz Chisholm Jr. playing third base, move to third base last season.
He was just smoking marijuana. Did you see that? He got photographed in Miami smoking the doobies in the offseason.
It's legal.
Oh, my God.
So scandalous. He's smoking weed.
He's smoking doobies.
Mary Jane. So Mr. Weed Smoking Jazz Chisholm Jr. No, he is very versatile, and there is some expectation that he can move to second base for the Yankees.
Jazz is he's an interesting player. I don't really know where you play him. Like, I mean, you read the quotes after the World Series where the Dodgers were like, "Yeah, just put the ball in play," because Jazz Chisholm didn't know what he was doing in the field. Like, it's pretty bad.
It is. So, of those three options,
I think the Royals could make a lot of sense. I mean, I know India was another move already to put it second, but if you have that infield of India, Witt, and Bohm at second, short, and third, like I can see that being the right type of market for him. It's kind of from there.
Yeah.
That could be a young, exciting infield to have if you're a Royals fan.
And they like those good contact hitters as well. That's something that Kansas City is looking for.
Yeah, I think the Alec Bohm slander has gone like way too far. I think the dude was hurt, but like you're just hearing so much of like, the league doesn't respect him, and then like the stat splits and this and that and the behavioral stuff. To Tyler's point, there's a very good chance he's back here.
Yeah. He's one of the top options for third base that you have to imagine are on the market for a trade or free agent. Mm-hmm.
I think it's more likely he's gone than not, but I don't know. It's gotten to a weird level with him.
You got the one team in particular I think is in an intriguing spot is the Tigers, because you bring up Jace Jung. He was I think as high as number 4 or 5 prospect in baseball this year. Consensus top 100 throughout the course of his tenure. Mm-hmm. He won a minor league Gold Glove at second. He's a good hitter.
Yeah.
He's a good defender. But so here's my question. Do they view him as a third baseman? Because they have Colt Keith, who was a pretty large prospect himself. I think they're going to continue to develop him as their starting second baseman throughout the course of the next probably 2 or 3 years. Is Jace Young an everyday third baseman is my question number one. And if he's not, how much money are they willing to invest in that position? As you said, Renee, they used a plethora of different guys to get them to where they needed to be. And Matt Vierling's not a starting third baseman. Matt Vierling's an outfielder to me. I think most would view him as an outfielder. And so they need somebody at that position. How much money are they willing to invest in that position as a team who probably exceeded expectations last year, but this year, heading into 25, probably will have some expectations, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're a playoff team. You've got this young nucleus. And even though your rebuild either took longer than it should have or you had to do it a second time because some of the big name guys you brought in weren't as productive as you thought. You non-tendered Casey Mize. Like, are you expected to be a playoff team next year? So like, if you are, you might want to jump, kind of dip your toe in the waters of the trade market, of the free agent market. If you're expected to maybe take a step back because you overexceeded your expectations last year, I don't know. So Jace Young is going to be the interesting name to think about, because if they view him as an everyday third baseman, they're just going to put him there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. So there's that second tier of teams for Alec Bohm that seem to make sense. It feels like the Astros and the Royals of that grouping are definitely the best of that group. But the overall team that right now is the favorite that we think Alec Bohm could be going to is Seattle. We might be able to see Bohm in Seattle, and we'll get into that specifically after this quick break. And let me take this opportunity to tell you about our friends over at Empire Today, where you can make sure that you can easily get the support and guidance that you need with quick and professional installation. They have the shop at home convenience, a price match guarantee, and the right product for your needs. It gets overwhelming as we're talking through trade options and free agency and just the market overall. It's just as overwhelming in the market for finding flooring. There are thousands of options to choose from. Carpeting, hardwood, tiling, and then different colors, different textures, different hues. So much you have to keep in mind. If you've got pets, if you've got babies, what makes most sense for your family? And Empire Today wants to help simplify that process as best as they can. And with their philosophy to help find you what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of options and choices and substitutes, they want to make sure that they're really helping you feel comfortable with whatever flooring it is you decide for your family. So one of their great benefits is their virtual floor designer. Sometimes when you're at the store, it's hard to picture your house and what something will look like in your room. But with the virtual floor designer, you can actually shop from home. And while you're sitting in your living room or in your bathroom or in your kitchen, you snap a picture and you can easily now see how that floor is going to look in that room. So the virtual floor designer just gives you an extra benefit of being able to visualize what that floor is going to look like in your space right from home. So again, shop at home convenience. And then also with Empire Today, they have people that are just going to make sure to help as they pride themselves in their customer service and helping you shop for flooring. So you want to know how it looks with the lighting, the backsplash, the furniture, the colors in your room, the paint. And you also can take advantage of scheduling a free in-home estimate today with Empire Today. And all listeners also get a chance to receive $350 off. You get that discount when you use the code PHLY. Some restrictions do apply, but check out empiretoday.com/PHLY for more details to get started on shopping for some great flooring for your home.
And let me tell you about our friends over at Bet365. You can find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use the promo code PHLY365 at sign up, and you can get yourself $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use that code PHLY365, deposit $10, make a $5 bet, and get $150 in bonus bets. They offer the widest range of games and markets available across 78 different sports. And they pioneered live in-game betting, and they have the best early payout offers going in sports. In basketball, for example, you're a winner if at any point your team goes up by 20 points. Boom, cashed out right then and there on the spot. You don't have to wait for the inevitable fourth quarter run that's going to happen and bust your bet. You get cashed out. You don't even have to wait till the end of the game. They have those across all 4 major sports. So check those out. And of course, it's college championship weekend coming up. It's already NFL week 14 somehow.
Wow.
And every day they are powering up the boosts on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more with 10,000 boosts every single month. And make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for our custom PHLY bets and boosts. So download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Get those $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, well, it's time to get into our Ace Hardware Temp Check, where you can get started on your next project with our friends over at Ace Hardware by visiting acehardwarehomeservices.com. And it's time to figure out if things are heating up or cooling down around Alec Bohm potentially being a Seattle Mariner, because Seattle is apparently looking to work. They're balling on a budget here. Limited budget this offseason, but looking to add, we all are definitely looking to add a first baseman or a one of third or second base. So an infielder, essentially. And they are also there's been some reports, they are also talking involved with the Phillies for Alec Bohm, but also for looking at Nico Hoerner with the Cubs. So the Mariners and some trade talks, I know that report came out this week as well. Some trade talks around Alec Bohm and Nico Hoerner, as Adam Jude of the Seattle Times has reported that those discussions have been happening. And there are a number of reasons why, but for Seattle, keep in mind some things. They've actually never given a free agent position player more than $24 million. They're a team that spends low on the free agency market. So in terms of what they're realistically looking to do, a trade might make more sense for them, as they are looking to bolster their infield and, again, looking for first, second, or third base. And then also with what the Phillies are looking to do, we've talked about Alec Bohm and the possible shakeup in their roster. Could this make sense for both teams for a Mariners-Phillies trade with Alec Bohm? And more importantly, who needs to be included, I guess, for you to be interested in trading with Seattle for Alec Bohm in return? Lots of questions.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, according to one report, they asked for Logan Gilbert in talks. Tyler, I know that...
Okay.
I was laughing over there.
Okay. Yeah, you know what's going to happen
Logan
when they...
Gilbert or George Kirby?
they asked for both of them, Tyler. Your thoughts?
Here's the thing.
I mean, you got to start asking for the sun, the moon,
you shoot for the stars, right? I get it. And here's the thing. The Seattle Mariners are going to go, no thanks, click.
Okay, well, what if
honestly, I think every team should have old school phones so they can still slam the phone down on people.
So what if they
it's not the
countered
same with
that
an iPhone of like,
that's
click.
what I'm saying.
So what if they countered that with, okay, no Gilbert or Kirby, but how about Luis Castillo?
Well, and then you're talking about, we had this conversation the other day, I think, about the money, right?
$24.5 million for the next 2 years.
You know, talking about the monetary value. I think if you're going to not go into if you're going to go to the Mariners and you're thinking about a starting pitcher, and it's not going to be Gilbert and it's not going to be George Kirby, because you guys know how much I love George Kirby, and I think Logan Gilbert's an emerging ace. Like, I think he is on the doorstep of stardom.
Yeah, I don't know why Seattle would move either.
The way that I felt about Tarek Skubal last year is the way that I feel about Logan Gilbert heading into 2025.
So bet him this time.
Just a little sneak preview for you guys. I probably should. He hasn't missed a start in 3 years. If you're going to have a conversation with the Mariners about starting pitching, I don't know if it starts with Castillo because of the money. I think maybe you would want to try to take the angle of Bryce Miller.
So it is because of the money. So it's Dave Schoenfeld from ESPN that kind of was the root of this. I'll just read his words.
Sure.
So I don't have to paraphrase it, but it is basically about Seattle unloading.
Yeah, and I get that.
Contract.
Understood.
Exactly.
So Dave said, Seattle's third baseman, primarily Josh Rojas, hit .213 with just 12 homers and 49 RBIs. He was non-tendered, leaving a hole for the Mariners to fill. They reportedly have about $16 million in payroll room to fill third base, which Alec Bohm would actually be saving them some money there. Second base, if they didn't pick up Jorge Polanco's option, and maybe DH and perhaps a reliever or two. So Alec Bohm at 9.
So like a sixth of their roster. No big deal.
Allows them some flexibility. He said it would be a nice addition to a team that led the majors in strikeouts. Of course, outside of 2024, which was propped up by a huge April when he posted a 3B WAR. Bohm has otherwise never been above a 1 WAR, so the Mariners certainly shouldn't trade any of their young starters for him, but maybe dealing Luis Castillo, making $24.15 million in each of the next 3 seasons, works as a way to clear some payroll.
Yeah, I do see
so
for
that does give
Seattle,
them optionality.
Yeah, they are, as we talk about, these struggles with the infield. It's Ty Francis, who was traded to the Reds. Justin Turner, who became a free agent. J.P. Crawford. They've got Ryan Bliss, Dylan Moore, Luke Raley. They have a lot of options that are not your everyday options. And I know in the chat, Andrew's bringing up a starting pitcher for Alec is why you don't think he's traded. Listen, to your point, Tyler, I don't blame if there are trade talks happening around Alec Bohm for Seattle. I don't blame trying for Gilbert. He's projected to have the same salary around what Bohm has, but can be controlled for 3 more seasons compared to Alec Bohm's 2. And as you talk about how great he's been, for Gilbert, he's pitched 704 1/3 innings with a 3.60 ERA, and he is considered to have been worth 12.4 wins above replacement over his 4 big league seasons. And so he's a great option to consider. And Kirby has 4 seasons of club control remaining, projected for $5.5 million salary next season, and also 11.4 FWAR as well, with his 3.43 ERA in just 3 seasons. I think the Phillies have, again, knowing their 3 priorities, bringing it all the way back to the beginning, what we talked about, starting a fit starter, bullpen arm, and an outfielder, specifically left or center fielder, being their their main options. I think it makes sense if Seattle's going to request a guy like Alec Bohm, try to include, if you can, a pitcher in return. I just don't think realistically it wouldn't be a 1-for-1. They would have to, again, like I feel like we keep talking about, you have to get creative of who's involved in that trade.
And I brought up Bryce Miller's name as a potential, somebody else to consider. And I knew his numbers were good. I didn't realize just how good they were. Guys, last year he was 12-8 with a 2.9 ERA through 180 innings. He had a sub-1 WHIP throughout the season. Walked just 2 per 9. This Mariners starting rotation was
dirty,
excellent. Probably the best in baseball this year.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that.
Yeah, and not only Miller, but then like the next name down after that would be Brian Wu, who made 22 starts last year, and another guy who was 9-3 with a 2.89 ERA, a sub-1 WHIP, 7.5 strikeouts per 9.
Why they need offense.
So are you dealing from a position of strength? Like starting pitching is your position of strength. If you feel like you can utilize that to get yourself an everyday third baseman, or
expendable.
Sure. So here's my question: if it's not Castillo, because of teams maybe not willing to take on the money, which I assume that's what they're going to try to offer because they want to offload that $24 million. If it's not Castillo, one of those 4 guys that we just mentioned, Gilbert's number 1 to me, but the rest of them, Kirby is an elite command guy.
Yeah, and
Wu and Miller both had very, very good years, sub-3 ERAs over almost 60 starts between the 2 of them. Like, if you're moving one of those guys, I'm not so sure Bohm is your landing spot.
Yeah,
well, I think you're aiming higher.
You'd have to give a prospect.
Yeah, there'd have to
in
be more
addition.
involved.
You're probably looking at like a 6 through 10 prospect type to add in the deal.
Heading towards Seattle.
Yeah.
I don't. Plus
something. It's
correct.
not a 1-for-1.
So I know
but you get a discount because you're taking on the money.
If you're taking on Castillo, is the question.
Yes,
is what I'm saying.
That's where Castillo.
Right.
If it's a Wu or a Miller, then you're probably going to have to add. It depends.
Yeah, I mean,
Seattle probably wants that money off the books, though.
I feel like that's partly why we've seen Alec Bohm involved in a lot of proposed 3-team trades.
Also
I feel like
fair.
for this exact reason of it's difficult to figure out a trade that makes sense with just 2 teams involving Alec Bohm, even with prospects involved, because of what the Phillies are seeking, but also what the other team is looking for as well.
Right, and that's why I think Alec Bohm has value, right? There's no question about it. He's an everyday third baseman who's under a fairly good team deal for the next 2 years with his 2 years of arbitration. So you don't have to worry about that until the 2020, going into the 2027 season, 2026 offseason. The value of Alec Bohm, though, I think varies wildly from probably not just the Phillies to the league, but the Phillies from team to team to team. Like the Mariners could utilize Alec Bohm in a significant way. Their offense was not good last year. We were talking about this earlier today. Like, it's the reason Scott Survey got fired. It's the reason they missed the playoffs. It was an elite rotation with a dreadful offense, other than Cal Raleigh hitting 34 home runs.
The big dumper?
There you go. I knew you were going to say that. So, like, do you deal from a position of strength? It makes sense. But, like, if you're moving one of these guys, again, unless it's Castillo, I think maybe the Mariners could probably aim higher.
Yeah. On the other side for the Cubs and our buddies at CHGO with the Cubs, Dansby Swanson, Suzuki, Ian Happ all have full no trade clauses. Cody Bellinger's got an opt-out, has opted out. They're dealing with their own issues. Nico Hoerner is someone that's played shortstop, has moved to second base, has been a defensive option for them of versatility, and offensively been a little bit above average in his career with his 278, 338, 381 slash line and a 102 WRC plus. So he is someone also has stolen at least 20 bases in each of the past 3 years, which is insane. But he is someone that also has been brought up for Seattle as an option that they're targeting and looking to see if they can make a deal work for him. So I do think I want to put a bow on all of this talk with Alec Bohm.
I think Seattle makes a lot of sense.
And I was going to say, final question of this discussion is, do you, looking at these possible teams, is Alec Bohm staying with the Phillies? If he's leaving, where's he going? Jamie, you're saying Seattle's your best bet more than even staying. I think it makes a lot of sense
for both. Whether a third team gets involved or not will be TBD. But I think there's a want-to from both sides to get that done. Because it checks off one of the three things that Dave said. The only question is then you're going to have, if it is Luis Castillo, let's say, that's $24 million with Luis Castillo plus 17 or 18 from Taijuan Walker. And I know he's already a sunk cost, so you can't, but like, ouch.
Yeah,
So
that's a lot of money. Not our money, but that's a lot of money.
Into the fifth starter spot. That's spicy. But I do think there's a want-to from both sides to possibly get that done. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I actually feel like Alec Bohm is going to be leaving. I think that part I'm actually more convinced about now, especially with all these discussions of trades that have been brought up. And being that the Phillies are looking to shake up their roster, he's one of the pieces you can change and try to get a starting pitcher, a reliever, get something in return that will fit one of those three areas.
The
hard part that's difficult, I think, for Alec Bohm is realistically, it's going to be difficult to replace him with a better third baseman just because of who's out there on the market. Even like an Alex Bregman especially Alex Bregman, there's not it's not an upgrade. And then Willy Adames could be, but there's, I think.
But that's why Seattle makes sense because they're cash strapped and they're not going to want to pay open market value for a third baseman.
So I think of
Bohm's
this
very
group,
attractive at $9
I think Bohm's gone, and I think to me it's Seattle or Kansas City that make the most sense for him to go to.
It's almost like a win-win for Seattle because you get Castillo's money off the book. It's not really like you need him per se because of what Tyler laid out, and then you're getting a cost-controlled offensive upgrade for 2 years that isn't going to kill you financially.
Yeah, and Andrew in the chat feels like Bohm will stay. John Peace is saying there's too much smoke around Bohm. Tyler, what's your final? Are you sticking with Bohm staying as well?
I think so. I think I am.
Okay.
And actually, I feel more confident now than I did about it like a couple of weeks ago. And just based on like the evaluation of the guys that could be moved, like the Arenados of the world who could get traded, the Alex Bregmans and the Willy Adameses who are going to get big free agent deals, I kind of think they do end up keeping Alec Bohm.
Okay.
And listen, there's no insider information. This is just my thoughts.
No, I feel that. We're still all kind of up in the air. There's a lot of smoke around Alec Bohm, and we'll see what actually happens. We'll keep watching because I also wouldn't be surprised if we're going to get even more rumors and trade talks coming out around the winter meetings next week. Thankfully, we have our buddy Jim Salisbury down there at the winter meetings with a pulse and an ear to the floor for everything going on at the winter meetings. But just to wrap up before we get into our random Phillies trivia of the day in the Tyler Zulli torture chamber, some other things that have gone on this week. In Phillies news, Jim told me actually, it was December 2nd, 2002 that the Phillies signed Tommy to a free agent deal. So there was the anniversary that came out. I saw it on Twitter earlier this week of that's $87.5 million deal over 6 years. Of course, we know what happened throughout the course of Jim's time here in Philly, but I thought it was interesting that as we're talking some off-season moves and roster moves, that December 2nd marked 22 years since the deal for Jim Thome. And then also Mike Schmidt's got a movie coming out. MLB Network has announced that. they're going to be having a movie for the Hall of Fame third baseman that's just going to showcase his iconic, legendary career, his connection with the city, and it's going to just go over the last 50 years in a documentary. I love documentaries. And so great to hear the news about that coming out as well. It should be a fun one. It should be very intriguing to see. And I love when documentaries, especially when you get firsthand perspective from the people that were there versus just like sometimes documentaries, they wait too long and everybody's gone on, unfortunately, and you have to like piece things together. So I'm excited for this documentary. There's a lot of big names that are going to be involved with it, a lot of good people, and even beyond just baseball players, there's going to be others like basketball players, Dr. J, Doug Collins, Charles Barkley, they're getting involved with it. So George Brett, Johnny Bench. So between the baseball world and even just the sports world, some heavy hitters that are involved in the documentary of Michael Jack Schmidt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much interested in it. I caught the tail end of his career, but, he was my gateway into baseball. So excited to watch it and go through, the ins and outs of the whole career and the stuff I don't remember from being a kid. So I'm looking forward to it. I love MLB Network and everything they do. So I'm sure it's going to be great.
Yeah, December 12th, 8 p.m. Eastern time is when you're going to start to see it's set to debut. So should be an exciting time. It is the first time MLB Network has extensively had a documentary focused on a Phillies player, but sure will not be the last. So 35 years from his final game, and Michael Jack Schmidt will be debuting very, very soon. Some other things that happen outside of the Phillies world around the league, we did get some news that the overseas players have been officially posted. So a couple, Hae-Sung Kim being one of them, KBO infielder, has been posted. That's been something that's been heavily in anticipation. There's been a lot of talk about his career, especially comparing it to Ha-Sung Kim and looking at what he brings an infielder. The other is Koyo Ayagi Kim. Koyo Ayagi, who is also another one that is going to be 31 just in a week. And he's an NPB right-hander, also someone that is a name to keep an eye on. So we're getting some other players that are, I feel like, now getting in the mix. Postings are going to start happening. We know like a Roki Sasaki, January 15th is the date for him. So some other names that maybe are outside of the usual ones we discussed to keep an eye on. And then somebody keeping an eye on some names, the Yankees, by no surprise, might be looking to turn the other cheek and planning for other options outside of being able to re-sign Juan Soto. There has been a report that came out that said they recently met with Max Fried and Corbin Burns. So that's very intriguing to watch. Obviously, for the Yankees in general, we've heard so much around Juan Soto, and it's been said that they had a 90-minute meeting with Max Fried this week, and that was first reported by Michael Kay of Yes Network, and the talk apparently went well. The two sides are expected to meet again, and then other reports came out saying that they did meet. The two sides met with Brian Cashman, Aaron Boone was involved, pitching coach Matt Blake, many others, 6 team officials. And then they also reported that Corbin Burns met with them late last month. So interesting to keep an eye on if they're going to be able to acquire one of those big names on the market.
Yeah, Corbin Burns and Max Fried are both good. The Yankees are going to be desperate. It makes a lot of sense. I wonder if it means that the Yankees think they're out on Soto. Because I don't see the Yankees spending $1 billion this offseason.
Right.
Are you really going to get Soto and then spend another $225 on Burns or Fried? Mm-hmm. It could be break glass in case of emergency plan there.
Yeah, the Yankees have already been linked to Willy Adames, and also financially, Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Marcus Stroman are all expected to be owed a combined $81 million next year. Nestor Cortez, $7.7 million. There's a lot of money they're already spending, and if they do acquire Juan Soto, that price tag goes up substantially. So not sure what they would be able to spend financially, but they've got some deep pockets, and does absolutely appear like they're going to be going after a pitching arm, specifically a starting pitcher for the Yankees. But there's some interesting things going on around the hot stove right now with winter meetings on the horizon as we're just watching with bated breath for that next domino to fall, which should be Juan Soto. All right, so as we've had a chance to talk through specifically looking at, some names for the Phillies. I know Garrett, Crochet, and Clay Holmes and different names are also brought up, as well as Matt Gelb was pointing out in his piece, Jamie. And so while we get into those final names to keep an eye on for the Phillies and then getting into our random Phillies trivia of the day, I want to take this time to thank all of our diehards who we appreciate so much, especially thankful for those of you that took advantage of our Cyber Monday deal. Welcome aboard. Nice to have you here as a diehard, and glad you got to take advantage of that $36 deal that we actually extended because we had so many signups. We wanted to make sure as many people got a chance to join and be a part of our family and PHLY community here. So we'll get into our Phillies trivia. You can check it out at allphly.com. For our friends over at TV, on our TV platforms, specifically Roku, that are watching us. And for those of you on other platforms, let's keep the fun rolling as we get into the torture chamber. But also, I did want to hit on the Garrett Crochet news really quickly, because I know there was something mentioned from Matt Gelb regarding some names on the market, specifically with pitching, Jamie.
Yeah, I think that's cooled off. We can dive deeper into that tomorrow. But basically, it says they were more of a better partner at the trade deadline than they are now. I think that one's cooling off. And then yesterday, you heard that the Reds and the Cubs were viable trade candidates for Crochet. So I think that one's cooling off. And we'll see. Things can change down in Dallas on Sunday.
Yeah, we will see. One thing that does not change every day, Tyler's trivia. All right, so let's get right into it to wrap up the show here on PHLY Phillies. Tyler, what do you have for our trivia for today?
Yeah, let's jump right into it today. No need to go over the rules and such. So here is your player. As soon as I can get your guys' graphic up there. There's your player.
Oh, my gosh. What is this?
I can't
These
tell
silhouettes
anything.
lately are trash, and it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you. Or am I?
That looks like an infielder's jog in.
Yeah, that's some green behind him. Maybe some ivy or something.
I had to
That's
block
all
out
I got.
the light to make out the silhouette.
All I contribute here is the silhouette. But here's the first hint. This random Philly of the day did receive one MVP vote in 2000, because we are going back to 2000 and on. So in 2000, for him to get an MVP vote means he was in a good spot in his career. So not a youngster, pretty far along in his major league career to get an MVP vote then. I mean, at least like a couple years into the majors. That's all I got to help, Jamie. Take that and run with it.
This person feels like a right-hander. Kenny Lofton.
It is not Kenny Lofton.
K-Red is saying you see a little lidge with some chin beard. It does look like, it's so hard with the silhouette, but I do feel like I see, I don't know if it's a big chin or is that a beard? And he's got a hat on, I think.
He does have a hat on.
Wow, a baseball player has a hat on.
Woo!
Let's
Woo!
knock
He's
all those
running
off
in.
the list without hats.
This is all I
which
can
is
contribute.
0 guys removed. All right, I'm ready for it too.
He's not a catcher. He's an outfielder is my guess.
Okay, do you have a player or do you just want to move on?
No,
All right.
I'm contributing nothing. All right, next hint. Selected by Florida in the 93 expansion draft.
Juan Pierre.
It is not Juan Pierre.
Oh, boy. This is an... So because we
If
go...
this is Wes Helms, I'm going to be pissed.
Right from Philly said in all caps. I'm actually going to go with this because I love the confidence. I don't know if the caps are on accident. Bobby Abreu.
It is not Bobby Abreu.
Oh, man. Eric is saying Alfonso.
Ready for
Ooh.
the next one?
Yeah.
Because we both guessed already.
Traded and deal for Dontrelle Willis.
So someone that was involved.
To the Tigers, right? From the Marlins to the Tigers? That deal?
No.
What deal was that with Dontrelle Willis?
Because Dontrelle went with Miggy.
Correct. Not that
And
deal.
that was a MLB winter meetings trade. And that was Dave Dombrowski, but not that trade you're saying. Traded in a deal for Dontrelle.
Dontrelle Willis was a Cubs prospect who was sent to the Marlins as part of this deal.
I did not know he was Cubs. I thought he was Marlins. Traded in a deal for Dontrelle Willis. The way you laughed at Wes Helms means it's not Wes Helms.
It is not Wes Helms.
Yeah, the response alone.
2000 MVP votes selected.
Also, the way you said it made me chuckle.
Okay. 93 expansion draft traded in the Dontrelle Willis.
Ooh, this is tricky.
So he went to the
We already established, unfortunately, it's not Bobby. I
It is
see a
not
couple.
Bobby Abreu, correct.
So he
Bobby
went
Abreu
to the
guesses.
Cubs and then eventually ended up with the Phillies.
No.
No?
No. Yeah, yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, he went to the Cubs in that deal.
To the Cubs.
Yes.
I really got nothing to potentially look up.
Oh, no. You have nothing to cheat off of? Oh, darn.
Not like, usually I avoid, I will never cheat to the point of just typing in the hints, but
But you will just.
But you will cheat.
No.
Cubs
No.
player.
Kenny Lofton did play for the Cubs, I believe, but it's not Kenny
Doug
Lofton.
Glanville, Jack Morris. So Ray's saying Doug, Chris Lemmer saying Jack Morris, LOL. I'm seeing some Alfonso answers.
Doug Glanville was with but he wouldn't be random Philly.
Good old Doug.
He was with the Cubs at one point, wasn't he?
He was with the Cubs, I believe, but
I think he was.
I don't believe he was ever with
it's not
Miami or Florida at the time.
Sean.
Excuse me.
Wait, I feel like I'm gonna lean on the chat here because usually they're pretty good. Which answer do I think I want to go with?
Doug Glanville was traded by the Cubs to the Phillies for Mickey Morandini.
But it's not Doug Glanville.
It's not Doug Glanville.
University of Pennsylvania's finest. Does a great job with Jason Stark on Starkville.
Eric said, corrected it. I've just realized. So we've got a lot of options
Antonio
here.
Alfonseca. I doubt it. Aaron Rowan. No, he was White Sox. Ooh.
I kind of like Six Finger Alfonseca.
The octopus.
I think I don't know.
Jeff Conine's not a bad guess.
I don't know.
Is it Jeff Conine?
He wouldn't have gotten an MVP vote, though.
It is not Jeff Conine.
All right.
Alfonseca did not get an MVP vote, did he?
All right, I'm ready for the fourth hint. This is torturing me.
Oh, it is him! Antonio Alfonseca. He got an MVP vote in 2000?
He had 45 saves in 2000. He also had a 4+ ERA.
Good job, Eric. Well done. Six Fingers. Mr. Six Fingers. Impressive. Oh, that was such a good guess. That last hint I'm saying.
Yeah, whoever had that in the chat first.
Eric Woolman. Impressive. All right, the chat always comes through.
I was not thinking pitcher because of the MVP vote.
You got one, I guess, 5th place MVP vote in 2000 because he did have 45 saves. It was
he was a
numerically
beast.
It was fine, but he had a 4.2 ERA that year.
He was the octopus.
It was the octopus.
Do you know what his other nickname apparently was, according to Baseball Reference, which is never wrong? Apparently they called him the Dragon Slayer.
The Dragon Slayer.
I like octopus better.
St. George.
St. George, the Dragon Slayer. All right, well done, DJ 1698. And I know Eric was first, but good job, chat. Teamwork makes the dream work every single time.
MVP vote totally threw me off.
That did too, because I was thinking
I wasn't even thinking pitcher. I was thinking position player.
Well, I was thinking somebody a little higher up. Okay, so appreciate all you guys, as always, for tuning in to hang with us. Today's guest was Mr. Six Fingers, Mr. Octopus, Mr. Dragon Slayer, Antonio Alfonseca. And as always, it's a pleasure. We will wrap up the week tomorrow, 11 a.m. for more here on PHLY Phillies to continue as we prepare for all the chaos that is winter meetings that begins next week. So for Tyler, Jamie, myself, Renee, and our special guest of the day that joined us in the very beginning, virtually, Paxton. We appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. We hope you hit that thumbs up button on the way out the virtual doors. And we'll see you guys next time for more Phillies and other hot stove conversation here on PHLY Phillies. Have a good one.
We all silly like the mayor.